Hello, everybody at Dunvant Primary School in Swansea, and hello to your teacher, Mrs. Woodman. My name is Alistair Humphreys. I am an adventurer and I'm an author. I write books. I wrote The Boy Who Bite the World books, which you've been reading in your classes. So I do adventures. I spent 4 years cycling around the world. I've done some other journeys as well, but that one is what I turned into the story you've been reading. And I decided to turn my experiences as a boring adult with quite a grey beard these days. I decided to turn my story into the same story, but with a boy as the star of the books. I thought it might be more interesting for children to read. And I hope that you've been enjoying my book. You've sent through some brilliant questions. Let me just find these questions and I will answer them. What inspired you to write the book? Well, I originally trained to be a teacher. I was a student teacher. I did my PGCE, so I trained to be a teacher, and then after that I set off to cycle around the world. So when I was going around the world, I visited about 300 schools around the world, and I gave talks about my adventures, and I knew that young people like learning about different countries and different cultures and adventures, so I decided to turn that into a book. Why is Tom's little sister smarter than him? No, but nobody's ever asked me that in years of asking me questions. Well, aren't little sisters always smarter? Well, here's the thing I can tell you is I've nearly finished writing my next children's book, which is called The Girl Who Rode the Ocean, and it is about a girl called Lucy who says goodbye to her brother Tom, and she sets off on an adventure to row across the Atlantic Ocean, as I did. I rowed across the Atlantic Ocean, and I think now I'm writing this book. I think in this book I make Tom a bit smarter than Lucy. So maybe the thing is that people who aren't very smart go off on big adventures. Did you actually cycle around the world? Yes. It took me 4 years to do. Why didn't you just take the train? Excellent question. I love going on trains. It's a brilliant way to see cool places. But the good thing about a bike is you can go anywhere you want. You can follow that little road that leads off to somewhere interesting and see what's out there. You can stop and camp whenever you want. You can stop in a village and have a chat. You can go wherever you want to. You've got much more freedom on a bike. So that's why a bike is better than a train. The freedom to go everywhere. And also, it's hard, so you get the challenge. It's a struggle, it's difficult. So it's good to have a challenging, difficult kind of adventure. It makes you feel really good afterwards. How tired were you on your journey? How long did it take and how did you feel? It took me 4 years. I got very, very, very tired. But I also got very, very fit. So if you do a lot of exercise every single day, you will get really fit. You don't have to be a superstar athlete. Everyone gets really fit if you do lots of exercise. And so actually I didn't get that tired after a while. I get really used to being able to cycle for hours every day. And it felt great. What does it feel like to leave your family? Yeah, that was sad. I didn't see my friends or my family for 4 years, so I was pretty homesick and I missed them. But I also made loads of new friends along the way, and I had lots of really interesting relationships, and kind people helped me. It was great, and I phoned home and I emailed home. So yeah, I did miss my family, but I think it was worth it to get to make all these new friends in all sorts of different other countries around the world. How much money did you take? Well, before the trip, I worked for 5 years, part-time work, and I saved up £7,000. So that was how much I had to last for the whole trip. Now, I'm sure £7,000 sounds like a lot of money to you, but actually, if you ask your family, that's cheaper than just how much it costs for us just to live normal life at home. So actually, going around the world was cheaper than normal life. What inspired me to go on adventures? Reading books. I've got loads of books from adventures. I love reading books about adventure and expeditions, and I had loads of heroes. I actually wrote a book. I've written another book called Great Adventurers, which is all about all of my adventure heroes who inspired me to go on my own adventures. What's been your favourite adventure? Oof. They're all very different, but one that was really different I enjoyed, and maybe you'd like to see it on YouTube, it's called My Midsummer Morning, and I walked through Spain playing a violin to earn money, but I'm very, very bad at the violin, so it was very embarrassing and a different sort of challenge. And it made me really nervous. I worried people would laugh at me. What will people think about me? And I think the next question is about the nervousness of going on adventures, and what gives you the courage is, yes, it's normal to be nervous before adventures. Of course it is. These are difficult, maybe dangerous things you're going to do. But what gave me the courage was comparing how I would feel after I'd done this adventure compared to if I just stayed at home and watched TV. And I knew that although it was scary to start, I'd feel really proud afterwards, and it would make me feel really more confident, and it would teach me loads. It'd be really fun if I did these things, and all of these things just felt worth getting over that scariness and just daring myself to get out the front door and begin. So it's completely normal to be nervous when you start new things. You've just got to dare yourself to do it, because it feels great once you're out there doing these different and difficult things. Did you get any souvenirs? Good question. And no, for 4 years I didn't get one single souvenir. I went to 60 countries, amazing place in the world, not one single souvenir. And the reason for that was because I loved how simple my life was. I had a bike, I had a sleeping bag and a tent, a little bit of food, just 4 little bags with all of my stuff in, and that was all I had in the world, and I loved that. And I didn't see the point in spending money on junk to fill up my life, so I really liked having no souvenirs at all. In the story, why was Tom being laughed at, and were you bullied at school? Wow, that's a really good question. No one's ever asked me that about my book either. So I put Tom being laughed at a bit when he was coming up with the idea, because I think it's often a problem for young people, but also for adults, that when you want to do something that's different to everyone else, you feel shy and embarrassed and worried because people might think you're weird, people might think you're different. And if everybody else in life is going down that direction, it's a bit scary to say, I'm going to go this way and do something different. I'm going to dye my hair blue. I'm going to wear bright green clothes. I'm going to wear makeup on Thursdays. I'm going to do this sort of sport, not football that everyone else is doing. I'm going to read poetry or write songs or whatever. Doing things that are different is scary, and you have to be brave to do stuff that's different, and often people just laugh at those people. But really, we should respect them, admire them, and say well done to them and encourage them, because the world's much more interesting with people who are doing different stuff. So that's that part. Was I bullied at school? Yeah, a little bit I was. At school I had times when I was really happy and loved it. I loved the lessons, loved the sport, had good friends. My very best friends in my life are still friends that I made when I was 13 at school. So I had really good friends. But I did get bullied a bit at 2 of the schools I went to, and it's horrible. I think it's the worst feeling in the whole world. And I do think that some of the reasons I wanted to cycle around the world was because I wanted to try and prove myself. I wanted to try and say to the world, look, I can do difficult stuff. I want to prove you wrong. I want to show you, you stupid school bullies. So I do think that some of the reasons I decided to do lots of big adventures was because I was bullied a bit at school. And I didn't have it as bad as some kids, but it was enough. It was enough to stay in my mind. And even saying this now, I can think of some of the people who bullied me a bit, and it just makes me angry and I'm sad. So I guess what I'd say to that is, if you're a bully, if you're picking on someone, stop it. Stop it. It's really not kind. It's not kind. If you haven't got something nice to say to someone, don't say anything. Please don't be a bully. It's horrible. And the other thing is, if you are being bullied, then please, please, please tell someone. Tell your parents, tell your teachers, tell your friends. They won't be cross at you, I promise you that. They will help you, I promise you that. And it might be scary and difficult to do at first, but in the long run, I promise you, it will make you feel much, much better. Wow, I wasn't expecting to talk about that today, but that is good. This is the good thing about reading books. It gets us to think about all sorts of different things. Great question, thank you. Next question. Where do you get water from and how do you keep it cool in the desert? And then you asked about the Marathon des Sables. So the Marathon des Sables is a race I did. It's 150 miles through the desert. And in that race, they give you a bottle of water every few hours. So you get given your water. On the bike trip, when I was in deserts, I had to go to villages, water pumps, and fill up with water, fill up from wells, pull the bucket up out of wells, and fill up my bottles. And I had lots of different bottles, and I had a bag as well that could carry 10 litres of water. So I could carry 17 litres. How do you keep it cool? You can't really, and it's so awful when you're boiling hot in a desert and all you can drink is boiling hot water. It's really not very nice. A simple way to keep your water bottle cool though, if you're out hiking or on a bike ride, is if you get your water bottle, get a sock, wet the socks, have a soaking wet sock, and then put the bottle inside the wet sock. And as the water evaporates off the wet sock, it cools your water bottle quite a surprising amount. So there's a tip for you. What's the hardest challenge you've accomplished? Oh, I found rowing the Atlantic really hard. I was really seasick. My bottom really hurt. It was really scary, but it was also really boring, which is a strange mixture. And it just goes on and on and on and on and on. There's no break. At least if you're climbing a mountain or crossing a desert, you can just hide away in a tent and rest for a bit. But on the ocean, it's coming at you all the time. The waves, the rocking, it never ever ends. So that's pretty hard. What have you planned for your next adventure? Well, what I'm doing at the moment is I'm trying to explore the map that I live on. I'm looking for it. Where is it? Where's my map? I can't find it. My shed's too messy. But if you know the maps you use for going on long walks, you open them out. They're about this big, and they cover about 20 kilometres by 20 kilometres, and they're broken up into squares, 1 kilometre squares. So what I'm doing now is just exploring the map that I live on, because I've realised that you can find adventure, you can find nature, you can find wilderness wherever you live. If you live in a city or a town, it doesn't matter. You don't need to go all the way around the world to have an adventure. You can find adventures, micro-adventures, close to where you live. So I'd really encourage you to try and find some nature and adventure close to where you live. Thank you, polar bears, sea turtles and lions, for these fantastic questions. Thank you to your fantastic, brilliant teacher, Mrs. Woodman, who is just at your school for a few weeks. I hope you're being very nice to her as she trains. Good luck, Mrs. Woodman, with your teaching career, and good luck, all of you at Dunvant School, with your own adventures. Read books, go on adventures, be nice to people. The end. And now I'm going to get on with writing The Girl Who Rode the Ocean. Bye everyone, thank you.